What is a red flag from an employer that people might not immediately recognize as a red flag?
When an employee quits or gets fired from the job and the company doesn't hire anyone new to replace them. It can be hard to tell as a red flag at first, but the temporary workload they added to your own over that was left over after the person left, slowly becomes your new permanent workload, without any changes to your pay or benefits to compensate for the additional tasks. The further out it goes without the position being filled, the larger and more obvious the red flag becomes.
To me it was we will start you low and we'll give you a ton of money later. They never do. Never happens.
Cool, it'll be in later then.
Anything that the manager says in the interview that doesn't line up with the job description. Yay, we posted it's a manager level position, but this is actually a coordinator role. Yay, the description says travel is 25%, but it might be closer to 50%, it just depends. We did post it as a remote job, but we prefer people to be in the office X days a week. Yay, we phrase it that way in the job description because corporate says we have to. All of those are red flags. Anything a company is vague about should be a red flag.
Once we advertise this as a full-time permanent position, but every hire begins as a 1-year contract so we can get to know you. I've got no issue with a probationary period, but if you're only prepared to do a 1-year contract with a possibility of full-time, put that in the ad.
If the job description has a nondescriptively massive salary range, $25,000 to $100,000.
So many insurance sales jobs like this. This is a commission-only role. No base salary, but top performers can expect to make $150,000 plus. Salary range, $30,000 minus $250,000.
Open interviews. It tells me that people leave faster than you can bring them in, and with good reason.
What's an open interview?
When you don't get a review until you ask for a raise. Then, all of a sudden, your work is being questioned and you're being berated.
Yep. Going through this right now. 2 years working for the company and I asked for a raise. Now suddenly I have the owner's wife all over me digging into everything I have done and just making my life miserable.
Sorry, no money for your annual raise due to the pandemic. It's a lie.
I got a 20% raise at the beginning of 2021. The catch? I'd gotten a 20% pay cut when the pandemic started. Upside down face. Edit. Okay, don't need any more math lessons. Sorry, what I meant to say was I got a 20% cut then got my full original salary restored.
I know people, rightfully, like to hate on HR, but if a company brags about not having an HR department to deal with, expect them to be very disorganized at a minimum.
Trying to rush a decision out of you once the offer is made. I once interviewed with a company where I would have been relocating across the country to work for them. There were 3 rounds of interviews and they left me completely in the dark for weeks on end between each round before inviting me to the next round within just a few days of when the interview would take place. After the final interview, it was over a month of silence from them until they made an offer but told me I had less than 24 hours to let them know my decision. I would have been moving 2,000 miles away from home to a place I had never been or even seen before. Interviews were completely virtual. They wanted me to start 6 days after the offer had been made. When I asked if there was any flexibility for me to have more time to think it over or have more time to move out there, they said no. They needed the decision the next day, and if I accepted I would be starting in less than a week. I declined the offer.
In other words, they hired someone other than you, who quit or was fired, and they needed to replace them ASAP. I always ask the question, why is this role open? Is it a new role, or am I replacing someone? Why did that person leave? This really helps you seeing their reaction, and if they look nervous, it's because the person who left did it because they were not happy. I also like asking how senior my team members are. If there's no one there more than 2 years, I would also be concerned. Final question. As I work in sales, I always ask, what's the KPIs and how many are actually hitting their quarterly and annual target? This also reveals if they set their targets too high, and you can expect to enter a grim working culture where you're never good enough, and can always do better. Last one, I like asking about how they are working to establish a team culture as well, since this will tell you a lot if people at work are friends, or just there to do their job.
These are the questions which I asked in an interview few months ago, considering Reddit had mentioned this so many times. It's very important who you ask. So the very first round, just after understanding the position, ask the recruiter how many rounds it'll be and who you'll be talking to. It's especially important that this question is asked to your potential direct manager. So, I asked these questions in the interview to the manager and he said the whole team had gotten a promotion. I thought this is extremely good considering they take internal growth seriously. Then he says, they took promotions in other companies and basically moved out, lol. I still ended up taking the interview till the last round just to see what kind of people run the place. When the potential manager told that this was his second day and told he didn't know what he was doing and was asking questions from a website, I decided to run for my life.
The sink or swim technique. It was my first day as a cashier. I got a couple of hours of training, then I was by myself and we were dead. All of a sudden this rush came in and I was asking for help. The manager goes, sink or swim, we're busy back here, figure it out. Lol, I did, but let me tell you, customers were not happy because I still didn't know how to properly enter in orders, especially modifications.
I had the same happen to me at Lowe's. I was put up in customer service without any training, all on my own. I straight up told customers that I didn't know how to process their return transaction, make special orders, do internet fulfillment because it was my first day and I had received no training. I called a manager over and the manager received some feedback from the customers.
Competitive pay, but they won't tell you what the pay actually is in the posting or even the interview.
Competitive pay. Translation. Your salary will be competing against your bills.
Nobody works here for the money. Why should they work there, then?
Asking if I plan to have children in the interview. I was 19.
I don't think an interview is the proper place to birth a child anyway.
Everybody is very young in a very old company.
I'm working in a company that's decade old, but everyone has been in the company for about 4 to 5 months max. Only the HR has been there for 7 to 8 years. And honestly, with the poo they are pulling off, I can see why people don't stay even to complete their probation period.
A couple old senior partners, lots of young employees and nothing in between. That means there's no opportunity to move up. They can't get people to stay, and can't get lateral transfers. They work young folks for as long as they can, and the young folks leave once they figure out the company sucks.
We call that the 24/24/24 plan. Hire 24-year-olds, pay them $24K per year, work them 24 hours a day, and repeat. That's what they love about these 24-year-olds, man. Company gets older, they stay the same age.
Asking if you are somebody who's willing to put in the time to make sure deadlines are met, work is done, or if you're the type of person who leaves when the workday is finished. This is generally corporate speak for, we will be forcing you to work unpaid overtime.
So you don't hire enough staff, or you don't manage your time effectively.
I interviewed once at a very huge organization that had a site in the town I was living in, and these guys were so proud of the new top-of-the-line facilities. When they took me on a tour, they pointed out the lovely Zen garden area that was made for employees to go, unwind and clear their heads. The problem with it was this area was positioned directly across from all the higher-ups' offices. Yeah, no.
A similar one, they had an employee break area with games, TVs, snack machines, etc. But it was completely empty, in the middle of the day. Looked like no one had used it in weeks.
There's a misery wall when walking into work. When you pass a certain point in the building, the feeling changes significantly. If you know, you know.
Yes. I was interviewing at Wayfair, in the corporate office. I was in their normal waiting room, everything was fine and dandy. Then I was sent to sit outside an office near the back of the place where my interviews were going to be held. I sat there 3 minutes, looked around at people, had a sense of dread, and left. I walked out and told the receptionist, I can't do this here. It's not what I want, and left. I got called 3 times after that asking if I wanted to reschedule. They seemed way desperate.
If many provisions in company policy say, except for employees in Colorado and California. Colorado and California have multiple statutes that are more employee-friendly than the other 48 states, so the company policy is basically saying, we'll do X for employees where the state makes us, but F the rest of you.
When they refuse to tell you what your starting salary would be, or when they just avoid the question altogether. Like I didn't apply to the job to be a part of some family work culture. I came here to get a job and be paid.
Is money the only reason you work? Yes. Yes, it is.
Poor communication during the hiring process.
To be fair, This highlights the incompetence of their HR, recruiter more than your coworkers or boss.
Work hard, play hard. You will work so hard, you and your colleagues will need to get totally fed up at happy hours to cope with the stress. At my job interview I got asked, how do you deal with drama in the workplace? Looking back, I was so stupid to accept that job.
I went on an interview. They had me wait in the lobby. In the 5 minutes I was sitting there, 3 employees walked past me. The first just looked at me and laughed. The second said, "Leave. Leave while you can." The third made the sign of the cross at me. Later, during the interview, the hiring manager showed me the Zen room, which was a quiet room you got to go to for 10 minutes when you got too stressed out. I was offered the job. I declined. Edit. 1. They walked by separately, at different times. 2. You had to ask permission to use the Zen room.
I have a Zen room at my job. It's called a stall in the public restroom. It's my crying stall.
If you get a tour and everything is old but they say, they're in the process of updating, yeah no they don't update poo. You're going to be working with broken out dates equipment. 9/10 you're going to get in trouble when it breaks on you.
They claim that overtime isn't mandatory and workers stay longer by choice.
Asterisk our deadlines make no sense.
It's hard to find good workers these days. Equals. I don't pay enough.
When they say, or try to make you sign, anything pertaining to not discussing your wages with other employees, that poo is illegal and it screams that people aren't being fairly compensated for their work. I've literally up and walked the F out of jobs for this.
Greater than when they say, or try to make you sign, anything pertaining to not discussing your wages with other employees. Oh, I sign that poo. I sign that poo all day. And take a picture and or request a copy for my records. F yeah. Then I go to a labor attorney or the Department of Labor and start planning how to spend my settlement check. Because that is highly illegal in the US.
Any job ad that doesn't mention the name of the company should raise suspicions, doubly so if it's anything to do with sales. Got done by that trick once. Turned up to the interview and the job was going door to door selling vacuums for Kirby vacuums.
Ugh, fell for this once. Answered an ad for an office administrative assistant. Turned out to be selling crappy knockoff toys door to door. And the guy the first was paired with was assigned a commercial area, so he pulls up to an auto shop ready to try to sell these mechanics this poo. I went, "Hey, the train station is over there, I'm going home." He tried to argue, I just walked off. Scammers.
We're a family here. No, we're co-workers. I don't love you. I wouldn't do anything for you. We have boundaries.
US Trust said they were like a family during my interview and then asked if my wife was black. Being like family apparently includes having a racist uncle across from you during Thanksgiving dinner. Tears of joy.
I've always found the hiring process to be a pretty accurate reflection of how your time with the company will be. So, if they make you jump through a million hoops just to be hired, you can expect any kind of raise or promotion to be the same. If they are asking you your thoughts on conflict, then you can expect that you'll be working with at least one difficult person who is a known problem employee. If they say fast-paced, tight deadlines, then expect to work overtime. If HR is a mess, then don't expect good onboarding, etc., etc.
Referring to the company as family. Employers are not your family. Family can't fire you. Saying you are work fam or anything else is a guilt trip to make you leave your real family and work extra hours for no pay. My company does this and it grosses me out. It works on our young hires, but the older ones roll their eyes. Oh, and saying, this isn't your typical 9 to 5. That means you are on call 24/7. Also, companies that have a cult following and make up their own words. Run. Just run.
The job title says they're looking to hire rock stars.
Or ninjas, or gurus, or any other dumb buzzwords.
Had an interview somewhere they offered 20 to 23 starting. Being new in this field, when they asked how much I was expecting to be paid, I said, well, you guys are offering 20 to 23 starting, and being new in the field I think 20 would be good. Their response was, oh. Well, that's kind of a red flag for us. Usually when someone starts with us they'll say, I'll take $17 until I can prove to you that I'm worth the $20, so you'll see why we're hesitant. My response, then why would you offer $20 at your low end? I didn't get a call back.
I can't imagine they would actually believe someone would buy that. It sounds so phony.
They get visibly and vocally freaked out when you tell them you have no social media. The follow-up question of, everyone does, you have to, had made me walk out. A company that wants access to my personal family-only social media platforms is not a company I want to work for. I separate my personal and professional life. They have no business knowing about me or my family and anything going on therein. They do not need access to your Facebook. And should they gain it through another employee or other means, I would sue the effing poo out of them for violating my right to privacy.
The quality of the toilet paper in the bathroom. There are minimal if any cost savings to one ply, and it just shows they couldn't care about you at all.
We work hard and play harder usually means we like to be nosy about your personal life.
I once had a job that required a working interview as the final step in the interview process. I basically worked an entire day for free.
We're just like family.
They're always hiring.
I work at a place like this. Totally agree. You might not immediately see that the hiring post never goes down on whatever platform you found it, but yeah, this usually means the company expects a high turnover. After 2 or 3 years there, I was already a member of the old guard. Things are slowly getting better, though, so there is that.
We work hard and we play hard. Translation: we require you to participate in our toxic workplace culture.
Thank you for watching. We upload new videos every day, so be sure to come back for more fun. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed the video.